Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Citizen on the Record. We have two eminent journalists with us. There is Vinod Sharma, who does not need any introduction. He's well known, he's a commentator, he's a voice which we all hear. And he's, of course, with the Hindustan Times editors, but now most specifically, political editor. And we have PK Manikandan, who is with the Kerala Working Journalist. He has been a silent crusader, and we wanted to give him a face in this program. So welcome both of you for joining us.
Thank you.
And Mani, I'm going to start with you because obviously now we have the Kappan case, and I wanted to know where it stands right now.
I think first of all, I thank you for inviting me, and thanks especially for Seema Madam for supporting since the beginning. The Kappan's arrest is happened. Aware that on October 5th, 2020, around evening, we got an information that Siddiqui Kappan, our Secretary of Kerala Union Working Journalist Delhi Unit, he got arrested while traveling to Hathras to cover the developments after the gruesome rape and murder of a Dalit girl. His only intention was to reach there and to understand what happened actually in Hathras, and to report to his viewers and his readers what is the ground reality there. Meanwhile, he is arrested. Then for I think since the arrest, there are around 1.5 days, there was no information about what happened to Kappan. We were searching for him. We were asking for our senior journalists and police officers there and officials there, and we have contacted the officials in the UP government through all our sources. So there was no even where he is arrested. Only we got the information that he is arrested. It is only confirmed in August 5th of August,
right,
at the midnight. So that moment we sent a memorandum to UP government, UP Chief Minister and UP DGP. We said them that he is a bona fide journalist. He is our secretary of our union. He is a full-time journalist. Kappan is not a political activist. He is a full-time journalist. So
all this, I'm interrupting you a little bit, but all these canards about him being with various extremist organizations or being a terrorist or supporting that kind of cause is all complete lies, right? I mean, how do you all perceive it?
So they are asking this question that he is a terrorist because a Popular Fund of India, it is a fundamental organization.
Yeah.
So why if he is not a link with the organization, why he went there with these pupils? That is the main question we had. We came to know that he had checked with some of reporters also, so that he can travel along with them.
Yeah.
Many of the reporters had already reached Hathras. Some of us were yet planning go to Hathras. So the Kappan's only intention was to reach there. Somebody in that group, he know someone of that group. So they were saying that we are moving tomorrow morning. So Siddiqui Kappan informed his editor, I am going in the morning to Hathras, and the editor said okay, because he is the lone reporter in Delhi for Arimugam portal. So only his intention was to reach there to report the incident.
But now
what happened.
I'm going to fast forward you, because a bit of the history now, it's been 2 years. The Supreme Court has just come in and it has given him bail, but there is one more case, right?
Yes.
So he wasn't released.
No.
But you were expecting him to be released, were you?
He is charged with another case, that is PMLA case. It is going on Lucknow High Court.
Yeah.
So the case is listed for 19th this month. So we expect when on 19th this month he will be got bail on that case soon. That is our expectation.
Okay. So Vinod, you know,
Yeah.
this is the fact that he went on to whatever lift that he could get. I think we all have gone through as reporters looking for lifts, given the very, very scarce resources we were given for news gathering, right? I still remember when Indira Gandhi was being arrested around Parliament, we just jumped into any vehicle. Now one doesn't know, and just to reach Tihar jail, because we didn't have a vehicle. And now, you know, you're going to be held responsible about who you travel with.
These are difficult times, Seema. All of us know that.
Yeah.
And the powers that be are scared of intellect. They are scared of information. And there is an effort to navigate all stuff which is pervaded through various platforms which have a reach. You know, there's a lesson to be learned from the journalists in Kerala. As one who has worked for Malayalam Manorama for about 6 years, from 82 to 88.
Okay.
Yes, I was the founding member of the Week magazine.
Mm.
So having worked with Manorama for 6 years and having interacted with colleagues from Kerala or having traveled to Kerala, you see, in Kerala, the readership, the audience of newspapers has a level of consciousness we don't see in other parts of this country. I mean, there are clubs which are, you know, Malayalam Manorama Fans Club or Matrabhumi Fans Club and all that, you know. And these people are very conscientious and they bring pressure to bear upon the newspapers. If they see that the stuff being dished out to them is perhaps not unadulterated, they are very cautious of their right to secure information.
Mm.
And I think that the way the journalists in Kerala rallied around Kappan, we don't see that happening at the national level. There are business interests, you know, take precedence over journalistic freedoms. And we have seen at least the television channels openly campaigning against each other.
Yeah.
Even newspapers do it, you know, unfortunately. So I think that the lesson to be learned from the journalists in Kerala is to
Unity.
be united, to fight any affront or any attack on or any assault on our freedoms, to fight it unitedly. And of course, the final word will be of the court. But the person who is the victim, so to speak, does not find himself alone.
That's so important, isn't it?
It's very important.
So
And
much, carry on.
and that's a big moral booster for any journalist who finds himself on the wrong side of the law or the wrong side of the government of the day. I personally feel that this message has to be carried far and wide. And the template that Kerala makes, the Kerala template of fighting for journalistic freedoms, is the one that should be adopted nationally. I do not know how many will join the bandwagon or join the procession, but that's an I get from the way these people. My salutes to them, the way they have fought for.
So I want to ask
freedoms.
Manikandan, I mean, it has been over 2 years journey of you guys staying there, walking the course, filing legal cases, fighting the battle. Has it been very difficult for you as an entity, as the Kerala working journalists? Have you had a lot of opposition, or you have managed it well?
Obviously, madam. What happened is, since the beginning of Siddiqui Kappan arrest, the very much hate campaign was going against the Siddiqui Kappan because they framed him under UAPA. They are terming him as a terrorist. So they have to build. They tried to build him as a terrorist, not a journalist. So and who are supporting Siddiqui Kappan personally or organizationally, like Kerala Union of Working Journalists? So, so many hate campaign was through the social media, through other media, through murmuring campaigns. So they were saying that all these are supporting a terrorist who is uh, uh, who when Hathras to for
Yeah.
a right. So personally, we are there is a lot of hate campaign. We are so there is a confusion among the Kerala journalists and the society, because why you are regularly we are facing the question that why you are supporting a terrorist and why you are fighting for his justice.
So
That is
how
the
did you
main
answer
question.
this? How did you
Our
tackle this?
answer is we are well aware of Kappan is a full-time journalist. He has no association with Popular Front of India. He is not a political activist. For the last 6 or 7 years, we all know, we are all know personally Kappan. He is working with he was working for various, first he was with Tejas Daily. Obviously, it is a mouth organ of Popular Front of India. So that newspaper is closed due to some various issues,
Yeah.
financial issues also. So Kappan got jobless. So he started working with another newspaper, Talsamaya. There is another that too closed within 1 year. So then he went to this Arimugam portal. He was working with that portal when he was arrested. So our answer is that meanwhile in 2019 he was elected unopposed in the post of Secretary of Kerala Union of Working Journalists. Our union is the senior and a lot of senior journalists are members in the in our union, and there are a lot of junior members too. So if a journalist is elected for the post of a union secretaryship unopposed, what it means? So he is admittable to his friends of all the journalists who are working with Delhi, working in Delhi journalists. So uh, that is our answer. He
Right.
is he is working with us for the
Right.
last 6 or 7 years.
Right.
Sir, his only intention was to reach Hathras. His only intention was to work, to do the work what
Yeah.
that is assigned to him as a
Right.
journalist.
So, there's like you were saying, there is a lesson from this. I mean, usually when there is these kind of arrests are being made now, or you want to pillory journalists, you say they're anti-national, they're traitors, they are selling the country, they are creating violence, or whatever it is. But here, people use journalists in Kerala use their knowledge of the person to fight the case. Do you feel that is not really happening to the extent that it should in other parts of the country, and we often let our journalists be and face the music on their own?
There is vertical division in every organization, whether it is an association of journalists, or whether it is an association of workers, or whether it is an association of lawyers. Look at the Supreme Court. I mean, the lawyers community is vertically divided. Everywhere you see this political division. This kind of division one would see in Bangladesh once upon a time, between with Sheikh Hasina's party and the party of Khalida Zia. But the same kind of division we see today in our country. Interestingly, in another neighboring country, which is Pakistan, journalists who have fought for their democratic rights, and democracy is not an easy thing to have in that country, they unite when anyone is under attack from the establishment or from the government. Now, parallels can be odious, and somebody can get up and say that there is no parallel between India and Pakistan or Bangladesh. But you see, to see parallels is a very relative thing. It depends on your personal experience as to what you've been through. And there is, unfortunately, a trend in our country which needs to be stemmed immediately, that journalists who are being difficult vis-a-vis the government or the rulers and And this applies to all political parties because, Seema, we all know that state governments are big advertisers. The central government is a big advertiser. The PSUs are big advertisers. And, the question of credibility gets overtaken by the challenge of financial viability.
Absolutely.
We are seeing it happening across us, across the country. So there has to be a widespread debate on the economic models for being followed by television channels and by newspapers. And also, unfortunately, the people in our country and maybe many other parts of South Asia, you see, they don't pay for information. They don't want to pay for information. So then finally,
that is the biggest one of the big problems. Yeah.
Then finally, like in a democracy, you get the government you deserve because you vote for it. You also get the media you deserve because you don't pay for information. So these are very complex issues and they require wider engagement, and not just of the of working journalists, but also of the proprietors, who have conflicting business interests, and they are prone to being malleable and flexible when it comes to accommodating the powers that be.
And this process started a long time ago, but it has become, of course, far more rigid and far more established as
That's right. That's right. And it is becoming increasingly oppressive. Because you see, look at it, these days, though we see political parties pitted against each other, the contest actually is between narratives being offered by the opposing sides. And the intermediaries for that narrative is the news platforms. So if the news platforms are going to pick and choose, they are going to, what can be an editorial policy can be as innocuous as placing some story which, according to me, is very important on the inside newspapers, and another story which is basically a puff on page 1. No, that's your editorial choice. That's your editorial. But the question is that whether you are being honest and true to the spirit of the Constitution, which gives you the freedom, which is a derived freedom from the freedom of speech. That's the question.
Exactly. And it's also, absolutely. And the manipulation of news, we know, we've all worked in so many newspapers. We know when editors change sides, even without money, even personalized, when editors move, how they butcher our stories. And the same display is not guaranteed anymore, even if the story is excellent.
Frankly, the institutions of journalism have been progressively eroded and expanded. And this trend started with a major publishing house, where the owner once famously said that we are not in the business of news, we are in the business of advertisement. Now, if you are in the business of advertisement and not in the business of news, then I'm sorry. The constitutional protection that you have in the spirit of the Constitution, not in the letter. There is no word as freedom of press in the Constitution, but freedom of speech is there. So you are not being true to that commitment, which is expected of you constitutionally as the alleged fourth pillar of the state,
Right. Manikandan, you're one of the few unions that are still surviving. We've all seen how at the national level, even the bigger newspapers all had unions at once upon a time. And then with the advent of television and big money, as Vinod has said, we found all the unions sort of getting decimated. Now, after this 2-year journey, would you say that your organization is coming out of it stronger? Or do you feel that you are more divided and weaker?
No, the unity is much stronger after this case. That is our experience, because we were getting all the support from all over the Kerala, and there are a lot of 2, 3, 4 units out of Kerala, including Delhi. Then we were getting the support from Delhi Union of Journalists, Press Club of India, and like Editors Guild. So the union is stronger. But as you said, there is an issue of division and various kind of issues in the journalism field. So there is a lot of hurdles for journalists to be united, like a union or to be united for a specific cause. There is a lot of issues there. But in this case, our experience is lot of supports were coming, getting from various parts of Kerala and various part of country. So,
Right.
and there is another aspect is there was a lot of malicious campaign against those person who are fighting for personally this case and against the union too. So it is obviously there. That is mentioned in the Supreme Court also. In the beginning, in the Supreme Court, the UP government in their affidavit were alleging union. They have a lot of cases. They have a lot of intelligence vigilance cases against the Kerala Union Working Journalists. There is a allegation of corruption that were raised by the UP government itself in their affidavit in the beginning. So they were trying to demoralize our unity. They were trying to demoralize our fight. Their intention was to withdraw us from the fight for Siddiqui Kappan. So it is, though, as you know that first we moved a habeas corpus petition in the Supreme Court. Normally in the higher courts, that these kind of petitions are settled within weeks. So it took 6 months, around 6 months with 8 sittings to settle a habeas corpus petition regarding the Kappan case. Then, so the delay tactics was from the part of UP government and UP police. So they were deliberately trying to delay the cases to send him jail all the years. So then only we can move for his bail in the lower court in Madurai.
So in your discussions within your union, did you ever try to figure out why they are behind Siddiqui Kappan to this point where they just didn't want to let him go?
I think mainly this case is built up to terrorize the journalists in the country. So since the beginning, we are raising the issue. This is a case of freedom of the press. This is not a case of an individual. If today the Kappan is arrested, tomorrow me or another journalist will be arrested. So the case was built to terrorize the journalists in the country. We can see the atmosphere in the country. Journalists are attacked when they were reporting so many issues. It has happened that during the Kisan protest, it happened when the citizenship protests were in the country. So after that, they were trying to now the UAPA has become the political tool of the government of police. So my point is, so we are fighting for press freedom. We are fighting for the right of a journalist to be work in our country without fear. And so we were not we were clearly and specifically we were saying that we are not fighting against BJP. We are not fighting against Yogi Adityanath. We are fighting only for the right of a journalist who has to be work without fear. We are fighting for the right of the press freedom in the country. It is mainly to protect our constitutional right. And
so Vinod, that's the whole issue, the arrests of journalists. Earlier, we've all fallen foul of governments in power. Some have been intimidated, some harassed, some privileges withdrawn, some trips cancelled, all of it. I mean, forget the emergency, but in between, after that. But now there is a pervading sense of fear. There is these kind of arrests, particularly, which make it very clear to journalists that watch it or else. Or there are raids, or there are income tax raids, or sourcing agencies are attacked, and all kinds of things are happening, right?
That's true. And unfortunately, people who themselves have faced the wrath of the establishment during the emergency period, and they often mention it with a degree of pride that they fought Indira Gandhi's emergency. And the people who saw how freedoms were muzzled during that period, some elements amongst those are in this government. And they should, one was expecting that they'd have a better appreciation and better sense of morality in checking these trends. But rather than being checked, these trends are only spreading to other areas. Now, look at it. What is the state of the voluntary sector in this country? What is the state of the right to information in this country? And may I dare say, how effective is the functioning of institutions like the National Commission for Minorities? Efforts are being made to mow people down psychologically. Like my friend was telling just now, that they came under attack because they were standing by Kappan, and they're fighting for a cause that they thought was correct. He is innocent until proved guilty, you know. And even the law, which was so designed as to show people as guilty until proved innocent, it is under a review. But we have to keep discussing and discussing creatively without meaning to poke a snook anyone, without meaning to paint anybody as an autocrat or a dictator. But at the same time, making your points persuasively, not being scared of speaking, rising and being counted in favor of a cause that you believe as just. And I think that Editors Guild of India and other similar organizations across the country can perhaps start this democratic discourse to come to some agreement, you know, and points of action, which others can also be persuaded to follow and endorse.
Yeah. So Vinod's point really, Mani, and I'm now coming to the end of this discussion, is that basically all organizations should help and contribute to uniting journalists and not sort of stand against each other, but work together to strengthen the principles of democracy and all the constitutional rights, so that journalism itself as the fourth pillar is strengthened and we don't lose out. So what would you say to that?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you'll agree, but take it further.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. In the Kappan case, our arguments were based on Constitution and the norms of journalist conduct issued by the Press Council of India under the Press Council Act of 1978. So we didn't see any conflict. So that we didn't see any conflict in Kappan choosing his mode of travel as an issue he wanted to cover the national importance. So when we analyze the Supreme Court verdict regarding Kappan case, so the upper court reinforced our constitutional values. That is our analysis. So as you said, the journalists all over the country has to be more united to protect our constitutional right. I think I can say this is the protest. This unity has to be built to protect our democracy itself. So that is the point I want to make.
Right. So the last thing, Vinod, I mean, when we, the whole theme of the discussion today, without us really pushing it there, has been on unity and the need for journalists to come together. So are we sort of looking at a revival of unions per se to get all journalists together and work together? Or do you think the existing system would be able to answer that?
You see, it's human nature to associate and collectively bargain. Unfortunately, with the advent of the economic liberalization in our country, unions were consciously deconstructed and rendered useless or emaciated, so pathetic that not being able to help the people they claim to represent. But the right to association and collective bargaining cannot go away by any diktat of a court of law or a government. It is human nature to associate and collectively bargain. Civilizations have been formed on this concept. So the point is that right to association has to be defended. Unions were not representing any caste, any religion. They were for economic rights, for equality in opportunity. They were religion agnostic, they were caste agnostic, they were language agnostic. So in that limited sense, they were perfect instrumentalities to help individuals attain their rights, what they perceived as their rights. Yes, of course, there were occasions when unions tended to patronize mediocrity at the expense of merit.
Yes.
But is that not happening now without the unions? So the question is that if you will not give, if you're going to take away or weaken these platforms, what do you have as a result? You have political parties which are based on caste, on language, on, or which are parochial,
Right.
So this selective right to association and bargain is not acceptable. It cannot survive. It is not a model which is sustainable. Anybody who's in the government should hear that carefully. And these kind of unleashing of forces is dangerous for everyone who does it, because you can unleash these forces, but you can't bottle them back easily. So it's better to have a tested platform which is more, which has greater consideration for merit, equal consideration for merit, and equal consideration for legitimate right, and that they are allowed to flourish and prosper. And this is not happening. I mean, you are seeing NGOs being shut by the dozen. I mean, you see an organization which was funding independent media platforms and which is not taking money from any foreign source, that it got surveyed by the Indian by income tax. And we know which organizations were they funding. It's a little scary.
Yeah, and that funding, the Media Foundation is very clear, very upfront.
Bilkul, yes.
Follows
so
all the rules.
So you want to dissuade even public-spirited philanthropists, people, corporates, who perhaps have this vision of corporate social responsibility, that is to promote free voices, freedom of speech in this country, to have as many points of view as possible in this great India. I often say, I used to tell people that, why is our country great? You name a season, a weather condition, and we have it. You name a fruit and we have it. You name a vegetable and we have it. And you name an ideology and we have it. These are checks and balances in a great country like India. But if you want to standardize thought, if you want to standardize even dietary habits, if you want to standardize the sartorial sense of the people of this country, then I think, I'm sorry, then you're looking for a cantonment, not a democracy.
Yeah, and you're also putting everything into a pressure cooker, which is just exactly what India does not need or can accept. Well, thank you so much, both of you. It was very interesting. And thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye-bye.